Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling something almost all of us have faced in the modern dating world: ghosting. You know the drill, right? One day they're texting you back in seconds, and the very next day, absolute crickets. No explanation, just gone. But look, we're not just here to gossip about dating drama. We're going to treat this incredibly common experience like the fascinating biological puzzle it actually is. We're going to decode the exact neuroscience behind why this silence hurts so much, and together, we're going to solve it.
So I want to ask you this right out of the gate. Why does their silence hurt so badly? If you've ever been ghosted, just staring at your screen, agonizing over, what did I do wrong? Well, I want to validate that pain for you right now. You are absolutely not being too sensitive. Your reaction is incredibly human, and as you'll see in a minute, it is hardwired deep into your biology. Okay, let's dive into this. Think of this like a medical consultation for an emotional injury. First, we'll look at the symptoms. Second, the pathology of the ghoster. Third, the complication of addiction. Fourth, the prescription for healing. And finally, rehab, where we build up your resilience. All right, part one, the symptoms. Before we can treat the pain, we really need to understand what's physically happening inside your body. In this comparison right here, it brilliantly captures what's actually going on. Neuroscientists have made this incredible discovery. Social rejection lights up the exact same brain regions as physical harm. That means, to your brain, getting ghosted literally feels like breaking a bone or taking a massive punch to the gut. This pain isn't just a metaphor, guys. It is a neurological reality. The specific culprit here is a brain region called the anterior cingulate cortex. It's essentially your brain's alarm center for both physical injury and sudden social disconnection. And why is that? Well, it goes back to ancient biology. Thousands of years ago, if you were excluded from your tribe, it wasn't just embarrassing, it was a death sentence. You literally wouldn't survive on your own. So our brains evolved to treat sudden disconnection from a social group or a partner as an absolute, literal threat to our survival.
Just look at the crazy contrasts in these hormone levels. When someone vanishes from your life, your body goes into full-blown high alert. You get this massive spike in your stress hormone, cortisol. And at the exact same time, your oxytocin, that's the bonding hormone that makes us feel secure and loved, it just crashes completely to the floor. Your body literally thinks it's in a physical emergency.
And because of that emergency, you experience what researchers call a closure gap. Basically, your brain hates an unfinished story. Lacking a clear ending, it rushes to fill in the missing information. And the worst part, it usually fills those blanks with the absolute worst-case scenarios about yourself. This is exactly why your mind just won't stop spiraling. It's exhausting, it's utter torment, and it's exactly why you should never chase closure from the ghoster. You might never get the real answer, so the healing really has to come from within.
Okay, moving to part two, the pathology. We know the victim's symptoms, but let's shift focus to the perpetrator. Why do people choose this sudden silence?
So the crucial point here is that psychologists usually narrow ghosters down to four main psychological profiles. Number one, they have an avoidant attachment style. Growing up, closeness may be felt unsafe, so intimacy is uncomfortable, and they just vanish instead of talking. Number two is a simple fear of confrontation. It's avoidance disguised as self-protection. Number three is decision paralysis. Honestly, modern dating apps create this illusion of endless options, people get totally overwhelmed, and they default to doing nothing. And finally, empathy gaps. Digital screens strip away vocal tone and eye contact, making it way too easy to forget there's a real, breathing human being on the other side.
Now, if you think this is just a rare thing, think again. In a scientific study from relationship researchers, a staggering 25% of people actually admitted to ghosting someone. That's 1 in 4 people.
And perhaps even more wild, over 65% of people report being on the receiving end. This just proves that ghosting is a massive, growing cultural trend. It's a symptom of modern communication. It is absolutely not a reflection of your individual worth.
I really want you to absorb this quote. Ghosting usually says far more about the person doing it than the person experiencing it. Let that validate you. Ghosting is entirely about their inability to handle emotional discomfort. It's not about you lacking anything. And honestly, knowing that should be a huge, huge relief.
Let's look at part three, the complication. Because, let's be real, even knowing it's their fault doesn't magically erase the pain. And it definitely doesn't stop that frustrating urge to keep checking your phone, even when you know they aren't answering.
To understand this, we have to talk about the brain's reward system. You've got to think of texting like a slot machine. Every time your phone buzzes with a message from someone you like, your brain gets this tiny little hit of dopamine. It's a chemical reward. But when those messages suddenly stop,
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the biological trap you fall into. You experience what's called a reward prediction error. Your brain expects that little dopamine hit, and when it gets nothing, it practically forces you to keep pulling the lever. You keep refreshing your apps, waiting for a ping. And I really want to relieve your guilt here. Texting hijacks the exact same neural pathways as gambling addictions. Reaching out just one more time is a biological addiction loop. It is absolutely not a sign of weakness.
All right, part 4, the prescription. So, how do we break this loop? Let's pivot from the problem to the actual solution, with some science-backed steps to stop the spiral and start the healing.
Here is our straightforward 4-step treatment plan. We're going to ground yourself, resist the chase, create closure from within, and reconnect with your people. Let's break exactly how to execute these down.
For steps 1 and 2, we turn to Stanford research. When that spiral of what-ifs hits, you have to pause. A simple 60-second deep breathing exercise physically calms your nervous system and actively lowers that spiking cortisol we saw earlier. Then, you absolutely must resist the chase. Studies on intermittent reinforcement show that chasing unpredictable rewards, like sending an unanswered double text, only makes the craving stronger. Do not feed the addiction loop.
For steps 3 and 4, a University of Texas study gives us a great blueprint. They found that expressive writing, just journaling about your emotional events for 20 minutes a day over 3 days, not only improves your mood, but actually boosts your immune function. That is how you build your own internal closure. And finally, hang out with your friends. Because social rejection activates pain pathways, positive social reconnection actually rewires them to heal. Reaching out to your people helps your attachment system learn to trust again.
Let's move to part 5, the rehab. This is our final phase, where we see how this painful experience actually serves as a powerful catalyst for growth.
Believe it or not, surviving this kind of rejection equips you with major new tools. Research shows it helps you develop rock-solid boundaries for future relationships. It forces you to spot red flags way faster, and it makes you highly value clear communication. Instead of viewing ghosting as a failure, see it as a hardcore lesson that raises your standards. It makes you grounded, self-respecting, and honestly, way more attractive to the right people who actually have emotional capacity.
Ultimately, getting ghosted triggers our oldest, deepest fears of abandonment. But science proves this pain is strictly temporary. By using the right tools to ground yourself and reconnect with others, you can close your own wounds. Like this quote says, being ghosted isn't the end of a story for you. It could be the beginning of a stronger, more connected one. But I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. If you're watching this and you've ghosted others, or maybe you're thinking about doing it right now, will your silence cost someone? Because now you know the actual neuroscience of what you're putting them through. Your silence hits people much, much deeper than you might realize. Just a few honest, upfront words can literally save another human being from biological torment. Choose communication over silence. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.